Hello, once again. I'm your host, Doc Rodden, and this is Horror News Radio, the official Gruesome Magazine podcast. Back with me again this week are the scariest, goriest, bloodiest co-hosts on the net. And tonight we are reviewing Silent Night, coming from RLJE Films. Oh boy. Let me introduce the crew, starting off with the one and only Dave Dreher. Dave, how are you doing?
Hello, gentlemen. I'm good. I am good. I'm ready for a little subdued Christmas horror.
Subdued Christmas horror. End of the world comedy. That's what we want. Drama. Yeah. All right. Also joining us is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm glad we could watch a film that would be a new holiday favorite for my mom and my family to watch every year.
Yes. The feel-good movie of 2021.
I had to watch videos about puppies, this, just to get in a more festive mood or something. Because I've never felt like. Well, I think also it's probably not the best film to watch during a pandemic either.
No. This might be a trigger. This movie should come with a warning on the box. But we'll get to that. What film are we reviewing? Well, we said it was Silent Night. I'll get to the details in a second. What we're going to do is we're going to start off giving our first impression. That will be spoiler free, and then we're going to dive into the review, and that we will get into spoilers. We have to get into some to discuss this film. So be sure to watch the film first before doing that. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score, 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And of course, if you are watching this review, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. And if you want to help us out, it's easy and free to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share with a friend, and it will do wonders. And we will thank you graciously. And of course, more than all that, your comments down below, please. Let us know what you thought of Silent Night. All right, let's get into the details. Silent Night 2021, RLJE Films, available in theaters and streaming exclusively on AMC Plus December 3rd, 2021. That's interesting. AMC Plus exclusive. Synopsis is Nell, Simon, and their son Art are ready to welcome friends and family for what promises to be a perfect Christmas gathering. Perfect except for one thing. Everyone is going to die. Written and directed by Camille Griffin. The cast includes Keira Knightley, Matthew Goode, Roman Griffin Davis, Annabelle, Wallis, Lily Rose, Depp, Sope, Dirisu, and I don't think it's called Sope. I would imagine. What do you think?
Soapy.
Kirby, Howell-Baptiste, Lucy Punch, and Rufus Jones. Yeah, I try, but
maybe Sope.
Let's go with Sope. I like that. All right, let's get into our first impressions. And Dave Dreher, sir, I cannot wait to hear what you think of Silent Night.
Silent Night. Well,
thought you were going to go into a song now.
These type of movies can be hard to pull off. They really can, because I read a lot into this movie that I don't know if they necessarily meant. I don't know if I picked up on what they were selling, or if just I'm making up my own story. But this is a movie that's really difficult to say you like. Doc, when we were talking off over the weekend before we watched this, you kind of compared it to The Mist, and it is a lot like The Mist, because there is nothing worse than a bunch of humans in a tense situation, because we all just fucking suck. You put us in a life and death situation, and just it all goes out the window. And I think this played really well. It's definitely kind of a slow burn, but I bought into the characters relatively quickly. And I wasn't really sure where they were heading with this. As we get into spoilers, we can talk a little bit more about it. But I came away being very kind of moved and intrigued, and just kind of taken by this odd exercise of human nature and how bizarre it can get.
Okay. Yes. Go for it, 2 more. You're up next. What was your first impression of Silent Night?
Well, straight to the point. Yeah, I love me some Keira Knightley. I've had a crush on her.
She's aging quite well, isn't she? She's still a lovely woman.
She is. But it's the interesting thing, it's like one of those things like, oh, that's the kid from Jojo Rabbit. Oh, it's Keira Knightley. Oh, that's Matthew Goode from Stoker. And I didn't even realize it, but Annabelle Wallis was from Malignant, which we watched.
Yes,
recently.
yes.
I did not even recognize her. She looked like Trump's daughter in this film. And I just couldn't get over that. It's like, okay, that's the same crazy woman from Malignant.
And Johnny Depp's daughter in it. So.
Johnny Depp's daughter, who I thought did a great job. So, and it's got Lucy Punch, who's like a comedic actress. She's seen a lot of British type stuff. So it's got a good group of people, but I didn't find they had these characters I didn't really care about, at least the majority of them from the get-go. So it wasn't one of those things where all they're happy-go-lucky and then they turn into shits. A lot of them were just bad people from the begin with, so I didn't really care about it. And I to be honest, I was hoping this would be very morbidly humorous, but I didn't find any humor in it. I think the more interesting aspect of it is when the shit hits the fan and when they become more serious about things. That's when the emotion starts happening. Because if you get in a situation to where, something's happening and you have to do some dire stuff and it involves children, it's like, wow. Because this gets in some very dark areas, especially by the end of it. And I'm like, there's some parts I actually got a little bit emotional watching it, but I found a lot of it to be kind of boring in the very beginning. I really didn't care about these characters, and I love a lot of sort of, family comedies and stuff, especially from the British angle, but I don't know. I just didn't really care about the characters, and I just felt like, oh, okay, this is this character. This is the character who's married to the, idiot husband, and this person is this, and this person is that. This person, has the really young girl, blah blah blah, and it felt there was sort of characters in this. But yeah, I don't know. At the same time, I think because of the subject matter, it made me like, ugh. We're already dealing with our own pandemic.
I know it's depressing as well. Let's just say.
Yeah, and I think for me the real heart of it seems to be that little kid who seems to be the only person that has any kind of semblance of thoughts in his head. I think
and the foulest mouth. That was
great. Foulest mouth, but I think that there's a moment, without getting a spoilerville, there's a moment he says some things that's like the most like intelligent, heartfelt stuff I've ever heard.
The cast too. Yeah.
He's more intelligent than the adults, the parents in this whole situation. So yeah, this is a very dark film, and I think I would have loved it better if the humor was much more on spot. But I didn't. I hated a lot of these characters from the beginning. I was like, okay, maybe they should all die in this whatever this is happening, because I don't care about him. But I think, again, when the seriousness comes into play, it gets a little bit better. I kind of wish that they're all nicer characters at the very beginning. And then you get into the meat of, okay, I hate you, or blah, blah, blah. Like Walking Dead, where it's like they all, zombie virus causes them to bring out the worst in each other. And there's like one moment I was like, I hated one of the characters. There's one moment in the movie I was like, that's horrible. Why? Such a selfish act. So yeah, I don't know. It has some interesting ideas, but I found like the first half of it to be very boring, and they kind of try to use dialogue to hint at certain things, how the world is now, without, I guess, maybe I don't know, is that more limited budget or more inventive way to work around a limited budget, so they just stay in the house the whole time? I don't know.
We did get to see some of the effects. They did bring some.
Well, there are some special effects which actually work really well, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This is, yeah, if you're having a really crappy day, you might want to hold off on watching this or watch a very happy comedy right after.
Yeah, definitely get the puppy dog videos ready. This is a depressing AF film. Oh man. So this happens to me every year. I always find this really well done, really well crafted, well cast, well acted, well written, and executed film, and I absolutely hate it. I absolutely hate this movie. But I hate this movie because of the story. Not that it's badly done. I don't want to ever watch this movie again. I don't think many people. There are people that should not watch this movie. I feel there are people that might get triggered watching this movie, and I don't like using that word, but this movie is, yeah, to say it's dark, and it doesn't hit the humor elements strong enough, although there are there. And the horror in it is very subdued until it's there. And when it is there are 2 or 3 moments that are extremely horrific. There's one in particular that we'll talk about during the spoiler section that I think is just one of the well done scary scenes this year. But I guess I didn't like going to where this film took me, and for that reason I didn't like it. Is that unfair?
It's not unfair.
No, I don't think it is either. I couldn't agree with you more. I think there are a lot of people, because I think at least for me, the message they were trying to send with this film is not a message most of us want to hear. You know, we live most of our life avoiding having to hear that message. And to have it presented in the way they presented it, some people likely aren't going to be able to handle that.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's, I guess it was interesting enough, but like I said, I think Chris said it, you know, the characters they're not interesting enough to carry it. I will say that Roman Griffin Davis as young Art is incredible in this film. He outshines everybody, and Keira Knightley and Matthew Goode are great too, but he is absolutely fantastic. And to me, he steals this movie. You want to watch it to see his performance if you want to watch this movie. But yeah, I think I've told a couple people, don't watch this movie. Don't. It's okay. Don't go out of your way.
Well, you know, for me, it's like, I mean, I love a good sort of British comedy in general. You know, like, you know, I love like Notting Hill. You know, I love Actually. I love, you know, For Weddings and a Funeral. You know, when you have like British actors or, you know, and they have families and stuff. I mean, but for some reason, I didn't find any of the family stuff humorous. You know, and just the running joke of kids cursing at some point just gets a little bit outrageous. Okay, we get it. The kids curse, you know. And I think because they all seem to be such assholes, you know, to each other. I think the only people that kind of didn't seem very assholes was Lily Rose Depp and her boyfriend seemed to be the more calming people, I guess. But yeah, I mean, and we're already in Spoilerville, but it's like, but I think when stuff starts getting more serious, that's when it gets more interesting,
right?
You know?
Yeah, because it's basically where, you know, there's this storm that is circling the globe, and when it lands, it basically kills every living thing.
Supposedly,
well, that's the idea, and the government is saying, hey, you don't have to suffer. Here's your exit pill, right? So they give everybody an exit pill, which is basically a cyanide pill, I guess.
Well, and I think there's this, to me, there's like a weird underlying suicide thing to this movie.
Oh, definitely.
That's like, oh, we need to take away the pain by killing ourselves.
Yeah,
and it's
definitely.
like, but then it's like, and I think that's where it falls into that weird aspect right now, because you have all these conspiracy stuff around the government, like, oh, they created this and we're the vaccine and all that kind of stuff. So it feels very prescient with this movie and the issues, because there's the one part where the kid talks about, like, how do we know these experts know what
Oh,
they're
right,
talking about.
right.
You know, why
Yeah.
should we trust the
And
government?
that's what I found really quite interesting about it. And I didn't really. I mean, I seen the attempts at humor, but I thought it was servicing the story. I thought it was building the facade. Because for me, this was all about, okay, these people know they're going to die. They know they're going to this house to die. It's a planned thing. They're going there to die. So you think when that's going to happen, you want to be around the people you love the most, right? And in our minds, that's what we think. And you get there with these people and you realize these aren't the people that I want to be around. These are horrible people. And these aren't the people I want to die with, and to me, that was the interesting thing, the fragileness of family or friendship, and just all that. I mean, the storm was death. Death's coming. It just is.
Yeah.
Their tornadoes and stuff for the sickness and disease and shit that flow around. If that hits you first, you're going to go before the big storm comes. It's coming for everybody. And, and the little kid you're right, Christopher, he was the voice of reason. He's the kid stepping back and going, wait a minute, we don't know what the fuck happens. We don't know. We're taking their word for it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. So, and I just thought that was really great. They were saying all that without actually saying any of it. And thinking that, the audience would pick up on it. If that's what they meant. I don't know. That's what I got out of it.
I think that's great.
And I think that's why, but again, at the same time, that notion that we all live with and we all hide from, that one day it's all going to end, that drives a lot of people to do some crazy shit in real life, not in movies. But so I agree with you, Doc. This could be a dangerous movie to the wrong person,
Right?
Because it doesn't have the huggy feely everything's going to be okay ending.
Yeah.
It's not there.
I mean, even compared to The Mist is just like horrible, right? It's like, oh man, but this one feels like, I don't know, this one even feels worse than The Mist to me.
Yeah, because we really don't. And again, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but what happens at the end, we don't know what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We don't. We don't. We don't know what it means. We have no idea. It could have just been a muscle spasm. Who knows? We don't know. We don't know where it could go unless they would make a second one.
No.
To know what that meant, but you know what I mean. We don't know. It was a very quick shock ending, shall we say?
Yep.
But still don't know what it means. Didn't know what it meant. At the end of the day, it was a downer of an ending. It just was.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's a dark film, but the strongest moments are when they all have to confront things. When the parents have to, okay, take your pills, or when the one kid runs out and sees that car.
Yeah, that
was great. That was a great scene. I mean, it was horrifying, but it was so well done.
And they keep showing inside of it. It's like, oh my God, I think if I was a little kid, I would break down too if I saw that,
Mm-hmm.
But just like, and I think when you watch it, you think like, what would you do? I mean, could you give suicide pills to your kids? I mean, or your loved one? I don't know if I could.
Yeah,
if I could do that,
I don't know where you guys stand, but I'm one of these ones that I'm going to be fighting for every last fucking breath I can get. I don't give a shit what it's going to be.
And I think that's the one thing I came with. It's like sometimes people are so willing to sort of to not be hopeful in certain situations. They just give up, And I think that's one thing to where I kind of wish more people at the end had kind of fought against that, But then you have. There's a sweet but horrifying moment when that one girl who never hugs her mom. It's like, oh God,
yeah.
So bad. Although hard. I will say, the one woman when her girlfriend throws up and doesn't take the thing.
Oh yeah.
I was so mad at her. I was like, how fucking selfish are you?
Which one were you mad at?
The one
knife.
who wields the knife.
Gotcha.
Because she would have survived as well because she threw up the pill.
She probably would have. You know, I mean, you don't know, but it's
Yeah.
like at least have her. Well, at least have her be consensual. Have her have the choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But again,
And
that plays into the whole thing of a lot of times the people you trust the most are the ones you should trust the least.
Well, that
you know.
Well, she was doing it out of love, but it was misguided. But
no, she was a total asshole. she deserved to be by herself. She was a total asshole the whole time, and I just there's a lot of assholes in this.
It was a room full of cast.
There was just irritating because there's that whole moment of drunkenness where they start revealing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh God.
And I did find a little bit of humor in the whole thing, like really at one of the darkest moments when they were doing that whole thing with the twins, and they're like,
Coke.
I need ice. He's got
more than I do.
Do you really care? You spilt Coke on your floor?
It was just so bizarre. It was really kind of humorous.
Did they get the okay to drink suicide pills with Coca-Cola? I was like, "Does Coca-Cola okay with the?"
Right now,
that was the only thing I was like.
There's a conference room at Coke headquarters that are going. All right, who the fuck authorized this?
If your soda wants to be affiliated with,
you know who did? The guy doesn't work there anymore. So he authorized it.
I mean, I can understand if that happened back in the '70s or where we didn't really care about using brands in movies, but I was like, the whole time, like, I'm kind of uncomfortable with drinking. Wow. But
this isn't a movie you can really say. I don't think any of us can say we enjoyed it. I was intrigued by it. I found it fascinating, but I tend to find these type of things fascinating where people put in extraordinary circumstances and how they react and what they do. But I really can't say I liked it.
Well, it's not an entertaining film, but if this is the right word, if this is a word, it entertains dark concepts that we don't really think about in films, and they really had some balls by confronting that. I think when it comes to the families confronting it and having to deal with it, and this is what's going to happen, and trying to talk to people, okay, we need to do this. It's heartbreaking. I mean, and I think that's why you come away with this like, oh God, I need to do something fun. I need to eat ice cream. Or watch, watch a funny comedy,
You can watch a double feature of this and The Mist, and then just go jump off a cliff.
I know you just.
Well, I need to watch a Jim Carrey film or something and wash this out of my brain. But I think there's some worthwhile elements that are worthwhile to see. You just have to be in the right mindset, because this film has some dark shit in it, but
some heavy stuff.
I mean, it's well acted. It's got those specific elements. Like, oh gosh, this is for this being a holiday movie.
All right, well, let's go ahead and dive into our final thoughts. Even though we've kind of shared half of them already, our final thoughts are score 1 to 5 and our favorite scene. Dave, you are up first.
I think I agree, Doc. We've kind of said it all, but it's very well acted, very well written. They really shake down some tough topics here. I don't know if they succeed at doing it or not. I'm not smart enough to know that. Like I said, I know it rang true on some things for me and made me think, and I appreciate that. It's really a tough one to recommend, though. It really is, because I agree with you, Doc. It could really trigger some people to go to some dark places that they don't need to go to this time of year. This time of year is hard enough for some folks.
Definitely.
So
it's a real thing.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna give it a 2.75.
Nice.
But I'm going to think about this movie way more than I should. It's one of those ones that kind of creeps back in your head when you're not thinking about anything. You find yourself thinking about that. Does that make any sense?
Unfortunately, it does. Yes.
So it obviously hits nerves. I hate to call this favorite scene. I'm going to call this the best scene once again. It wasn't a favorite scene, but the scene in the van when they take the little boy out in the van, the mother, father, and the boy, and they're having a private conversation because he's refusing to take the pill. And there was just some real real emotion there, and he just says
it's raw. It's raw.
Yeah,
emotion,
yeah.
too.
He's
really
like, I ain't taking the fucking pill. I ain't doing it. But it was really good, and like you said, raw. It was very human. So that's a sign. That's the scene that just kind of stuck with me. So yeah, this is a tough one, not for everybody, but that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah. Happy holidays, Christopher G. Moore, sir. What is your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
Silent Night.
Well, it should be called Silent Night, Deadly Night, but that's already been taken.
Hey, sing the Christmas sweater song for us, real quick, though, Christopher. They played that a couple times.
Yeah, well,
Come on. That's what
I'm not in the mood after watching this. Maybe Grandma got run over by a cyclone.
She did too. Oh,
just saying. Yeah, I think if the humor had been much more on target, it would have been a little bit more enjoyable. But I think the majority of the characters were not really nice characters that you cared about, and they were such dicks to each other. But not in a good way. It's like you have some American comedies where people could be dicks to each other and it's funny, like the Will Ferrell comedies or something. But something about this, I just didn't really, there wasn't anything clicking with these. It almost felt like they weren't even, there's no chemistry between a lot of the people. But I think the kid who played Art, Roman Griffin Davis, I think he was the real center for this. Mm-hmm. That centered it a little bit more. And I think, again, once we get into the more serious things, which is funny because normally I like more comedy aspects, but I think when it got to the more serious stuff, that's when it got more interesting for me. I didn't really want to deal with it, but it was powerful in how it was presented. And I think when we get to like the second half of it, and all these characters have to deal with what's about to happen, it's hard to watch, but at the same time, it makes you think, I think. But yeah, this is not a fun-filled family. This is not a Hallmark movie by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it's not a.
It wasn't Hallmark Presents The Christmas Storm.
No, one Lifetime movie.
No, and it's like, I love a good Christmas horror movie. We watched Advent Calendar recently, which is one of my favorite films of the year.
Yeah.
Or Krampus or any of these type of things that involve horror or whatever. But this is more, this is a little too close to home with the pandemic. So yeah, if I were to give a rating, I'll give it a 2.25. It's
okay.
I found a good bit of the beginning to be very boring. And I don't mind a slow burn, but I just didn't really care about the characters, where it was a real slog to get through. And it wasn't until some of the darkness seeped in that it got at least more interesting. But at the same time, it's like, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because that's when the conflict started to arise.
Yeah, so I think when the conflict started, that's when it got more interesting, and the darkness, it's hard to not look away, but at the same time, I'm not sure if I could watch this film again. It's so dark in its elements. And if I were to pick I won't say favorite scene either. I'll say like a scene that stuck out. I'll say it's when the kid's on the bed talking to the guy who's a cancer doctor, and when the kid schools the doctor on stuff. I thought that was probably the most interesting thing in the whole film, because there's a dialogue that happens there, which is like, I mean, as much as we have all this science debate now about things, we still need to be to question, I guess. Can't take everything fully, but I thought that was for this kid to have such an intelligence and be more intelligent than a lot of these idiotic adults in this house. They're just as idiotic as the other kids. I thought that was a really nice moment. I was like, wow, I was like, damn, he's schooling this guy who went to to medical school. So yeah, I think that's probably the scene that stood out to me in the whole film.
Yeah, I think that's when the writing really is on full legs, right? Is that the scene that Dave picked when it really gets into the core characters, the core family, Matthew Goode, Keira Knightley, and Roman Griffin Davis. I think that's really when it takes off. Even when the other two, the twins, are in place, it kind of falls apart. It becomes more, like I said, the comedy elements start bubbling back up. Because I think some of the scenes with him and what was it, Rose Depp? Was her name? How do you say her name?
Lily Rose.
Lily Rose Depp were really good too. I thought I was really surprised how well she acted in this film. But I guess unfortunately I brought the daughter of Johnny Depp stigma to it. But this movie convinced me that that's not something I need to continue thinking. That she really impressed me in this film. I was really impressed. Talent. But I will say,
real heart.
Yeah, she really did. But Roman Griffin Davis, this is his second film. The first film, of course, was Jojo Rabbit, and this is the second. This is a talented young man. Oh my gosh, he carries so much of this film, and it's not an easy role for anybody, much less a child like that. And he does a great job. And that, if you're going to watch the film, I think that's the reason to watch it, is to see him. But I guess the subject matter is just not the kind of subject matter I want to deal with. And maybe I'm being unfair by criticizing it so much, because technically it actually is it's really well done. I think the script is better than Chris that you're saying, but I understand your take. To me, some of the comedy was you're coming across. I agree with you that it introduced the characters in a very unusual way, because we didn't really it took a while to get the dynamic in place. And that was a little awkward, but once, like you said, once you get about the halfway mark and the conflicts start to rise, it really starts to come together. But I just really have trouble with the subject matter and handling of it. So I technically, I'm actually going to give this 2 scores, because technically I think it's more of a 4. I think it's a really good film, but from an enjoyment, emotional aspect, I'm giving it a 2. I don't want this movie, right? I don't want to. Maybe I just don't want to be challenged like this. I don't know. I feel very like I'm being very unfair, but it's not what. I don't know. I just wasn't prepared for the beatdown that this movie gives you emotionally. So that was a little more than I was bargaining for, and didn't care for it. So take that for what it is. I think all 3 of us are feeling that element of it. So the film, the scene that I think really impacted me the most, and it's really, to me, it's the most horrific scene in the movie. There's a couple of them, like when the reveal, when she, the mother's holding Art, and when she pulls him away, that you see what's happening. I thought that was horrific. But when he finds that car and he sees what the other family had to do, and his reaction was as horrific as a horror movie can ever have. It literally was scary. It was scary, but not in a "here comes Jason Voorhees coming to kill you." It was just it's just horror. It's just horror, and almost too real of horror, right? Maybe not in the context of what's happening, but you could it's not something it's something that you really could stumble upon, right? A family that has died. Whether they killed himself or not. And for a child like that to find it and be so affected, it's horrifying. And I thought the impact of that was very, very strong.
Well, I think it's more that there's a dead baby in the car. I think
that really nails it. Yeah.
They didn't shy away from showing it just in its carrier.
Yeah, and I showed it a couple times, actually. Yeah.
And I think there probably some people could possibly be triggered by that as well. But I mean, I think by them not shying away from it, it shows you that, okay, they're dedicated to sort of showing the grimness of the situation. And you can understand why the kid just like shut down, and
Yep.
of course he was also dealing with breathing in gaseous vapors as well.
Yeah. And then of course, we hinted at the ending, but the ending makes you think too what, who was really right. Yeah.
Although I think the most horrible thing is how they would spit on his cut. Spit and wipe it. That was, to me, that was the most horrifying thing. Like, what kind of parents do that? Like, let me wipe your open wound with my spit. I don't.
My parents did that. Oh,
both of them did that though. I was like, okay, what is going on here?
That goes back to the old rub some dirt on it days. I
guess though, but I was like,
I got a spit shine quite a few times.
Yeah,
literally, like ooh, but yeah. So this is a very challenging, and I think even between the three of us, controversial type of film. So it'd be interesting to see how this movie, takes after a few months or a year or two down the line.
Yeah.
When people
are either going to love it or hate it. I think it's going to be kind of like the ending of The Mist. People either hate the ending of The Mist or they love the ending of The Mist.
And there's going to be plenty of reasons to look at this film, because I think Lily Rose Depp is going to grow quite a bit as an actress, and really, I'm looking for big things from her now. And I think Roman Griffin, I think there's no doubting that he's going to do great things in the future. He is really great in here. So, and you're going to want to go back and look at his early stuff, and this is the film you're going to pick up, and you're going to go, oh.
although I will say Matthew Goode, ever since I saw him in Stoker, I just can't see him anything but being evil. So it's hard for me to see him as a loving parent.
You don't see it. I see him from Watchmen too, but that's a different story.
Oh yeah, he was in that too. I forgot about that.
All right, well, let's get out of here, guys. Christopher, Dave, thank you for joining me. It was so much fun. Well, fun.
It was so much darkness.
It's good to talk about a film that you can develop an opinion on sometimes. I mean, it is. So,
and this whole thing about
an interesting film and an interesting discussion. We'll leave it at that. What do you think?
Let's do that. All right, Christopher, Dave, let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.